Hello and welcome back to VHawks Podcast. This is an extra exciting edition this week as we finally have the Minnesota Vikings taking down a superior opponent. And might I just add, with the two caveats of no Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins on a Monday night, who might I say played one of the best games of his entire NFL career last night. 0 sacks from our O line too. Team stepped up. I'm joined by Matt as always. I will say at the beginning of this podcast, I am currently hundreds and hundreds of miles away from Matt. So if there are any technical difficulties, that is likely the reason why. But
Like
I
we
will
haven't
try
had
to do
technical
this.
difficulties when we're in the same state.
That's true. My Wi-Fi is just terrible there, so we'll see how my hotel holds up. But
We'll just have no difficulty today.
hopefully, yeah, that sounds like us. Yeah. We got a crazy week in week 7 to recap for all of you guys. A lot of crazy upsets, some close games, some not so close games, and happiness for both of us because the Vikings and the Seahawks won. So, go us. Without further ado, I'd like to save the Vikings 49ers for last as it was the last game of the week, but I also think
Nah,
it's
no, no.
probably
I'm
it's
not
the
gonna
most
make you wait
important.
for it, Tyler. Go ahead.
All right. Well, hey, I hyped you up on that big Seattle win early in the season. So I think it's fair because it was the 49ers and they're your division opponent that you hype up the Vikings.
I didn't
Just
even
a little
watch
bit.
the game, buddy.
You didn't even watch the game.
I was watching the Astros get their tails kicked by the Rangers.
Gotcha. Did you watch the highlights?
I watched part of it, but it was majority. That game wasn't the best game either. Jordan Addison had a good recovery after letting up the pick early, and then just basically doing the opposite to Ward and taking that into the end zone at the end of the half.
Yep. Yep. I love that, dude. Like, it happens. So the defender can rip it away sometimes, but when the receiver rips it back and goes for a touchdown, that's even
Especially with
better.
like 7 seconds left in the half. That I will give that one to you. It was a good play.
Oh, yeah.
Though I
And
will
Kirk
say
was
now,
dialed in. Kirk had pocket presence. That's something new. Kirk knew when to get away. He knew how to step up in the pocket. Like it was like watching Tom Brady. Like not that extent, but like Kirk's so bad that it's like he just had a moment where he entered the presence of a pocket passer. Like he just was able to kind of know when the blitz was coming, when there was an edge rusher free. But I will say, Nick Bosa did nothing in that game, and that is probably the biggest surprise, other than the Vikings winning. He did like nothing. He like on the stat sheet, he probably had a couple tackles. That's it. Didn't sack Kirk Cousins. Didn't really apply too much pressure. Neutralized on either side. So shout out to Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw, two of the best tackles in the league. Which we knew that it's the interior of our offensive line, which has always caused issues. But great team win. The defense stepped up. 3 turnovers on the 49ers. CMC fumble and 2 Brock Purdy picks in the fourth quarter helped seal the game. Both of them by Cameron Bynum, one of the safeties that is a little bit of a paradigm in the Minnesota fan base. Some people love him, some people hate him, some people have their thoughts about him. But he's always showing up on the stats sheet as one of the leaders in tackles. Might not make all the splashy plays, but boy, did he make the splashy plays last night. Who? And I'm still in shock of the game. I can't believe they actually won. That doesn't seem real, and that's the best game we've played all year. And the fact that we put up more against the Niners than we did against the Bears and the Panthers makes me kind of sad.
so not to take away this win from you, buddy, but there's a few things I just got to put out here on the record. Um, and this is more just the 49ers being a bad team.
Excuse me?
Let me finish. So, guess the record when Kyle Shanahan and his team is down by 8 or more points in the fourth quarter.
I'm guessing it's ridiculously low.
0-37.
There you go.
This was one of the first times in Brock Purdy's short stint career so far, or at least one of the first times that they lost the turnover battle. This was one of the first times that he did not have Deebo Samuel.
It's
We
the
also
first time
saw,
this season that they allowed a touchdown in the first quarter, and we led the entire game.
and there was also a bunch of injuries on their defense as well. Christian McCaffrey was back, but I don't really know if he was all there because he had the fumble in the red zone right after
He got over 100 yards and he total on the day, and he scored both touchdowns.
though he also had that fumble early though.
I mean, again, a good defender can knock the ball out. So it didn't
I'm
look
just
like
saying
that,
he
though.
might not have been all there. That's all I'm trying to say.
He's
But
on the field, man.
I'm as I said, I'm not trying to take away this win from you. It's just I think we finally saw, which good on your team, Brock Purdy have to play a game where his elbow doesn't get completely blown out, where he has to go get surgery right after the game, where he has to actually fight for it and he cannot deliver. We saw this partially last week against Cleveland against that defense where he lost McCaffrey and Deebo in the middle of the game. And yes, he got them down into field goal range and then they just missed the field goal. But still, they had plenty of other chances to win that game. So I think we're finally starting to see it's answering the question that we've all thought, but hadn't gotten the proof or evidence of yet of is Brock Purdy actually good? Or is this a system where you can toss any quarterback in, if healthy, Jimmy Garoppolo, that it works fine as long as all the pieces are there and they're not down by 5 or more in the fourth quarter?
You know my stance on that. Anybody can QB in the 49er system as long as everyone's healthy. Now,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean everybody's going to put up Brock Purdy numbers.
No,
I will say.
I agree with that.
As of recent 49ers quarterbacks, he's probably the best I've seen.
Well, that's not really saying much though, Tyler.
Well, I mean, yeah, true. But
because they've had what, Jimmy Garoppolo and how many other backup QBs when Garoppolo kept getting hurt?
Yeah, but they had what's his face, who knelt for the anthem and everything.
Well, they haven't had anybody good since Kaepernick, though.
Right. I would say Brock Purdy's better than Kaepernick, but it just depends on the type of quarterback you want. Kaepernick.
Well, he was more of a scrambler.
Yeah. But Brock Purdy's a great pocket passer.
Those 49ers, when they were still good before Harbaugh left, and Seattle had a lot of good battles back in the day, I'll say that, especially that NFC Championship game. But, well, unless you want to say something else about your Vikings, shall we get into the rest of the week?
Yeah, we can. I just think it's kind of mean that you won't celebrate the Vikings. And when I gave such a good hype talk about the Seahawks. Forget what week it was, but you had a really good win. It was the Lions. Because the Lions were the team to beat. It was like back in week 2 or 3.
I'm just saying that the 49ers have issues and you expose them. I'm giving you props for exposing the 49ers, Tyler.
Yeah, but exposing it sounds like, we're not a good team or anything like that, which I mean, granted.
That's exactly what it means. You exposed their weakness and made Brock Purdy have to win a game on himself.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Yeah. We did it.
We hype each other up in different ways. Okay. Can we agree on that?
That is true. That is very true.
I congratulate you on the win, and I thank you for beating our rival.
You're very welcome.
Is that better?
Yeah, it is a little bit better. I just feel like you hyped me up in discrediting the Niners more than you did in like praising how well the Vikings play. But then again, you didn't watch the game, so I'm just happy that Jordan Addison seems to be the clear wide receiver one now. TJ Hawkinson didn't drop a pass, which if you had said that to me last week or the week before, I would have thought you were crazy. So
Now, I will say I'm glad Jordan Addison was able to come back and finish that game because when I saw that, I got the notification that he had actually gone out for some sort of injury in the middle of the game. It just turned out to be cramps, luckily. But
yeah, he had cramps, got a was an IV, something like that.
which for a
Um,
rookie wide receiver that was getting basically all the catches in that game, other than Hawkinson and a couple other
mhm.
guys,
Yeah.
kind of
Now I will
understandable.
say KJ Osborne did his part as like, he's kind of always there. He's the wide receiver three. He's one of the best threes in the league, I'll say. But he can't handle the pressure of a two. So his presence is kind of limited without JJ. But when JJ comes back, he'll probably resume a good role. But I just hope it's after JJ and Addison. That's where he needs to be. That's where he can cook people, and that's where he usually has his biggest impact. But Brandon Powell, man, one of our receivers that we got from the Rams, um, and our punt returner, he's stepped up the past couple weeks in terms of receiving. I believe he had a good amount of yards last night on not so many targets. So love seeing him get involved. Cam Akers, man, I I love Madison, but Cam Akers is the clear running back one. He's got it, man. I don't know what it is. If you can get Madison going, like if you get him a long run, you can get him a hole. He can get you 20, 30 yards on first down. He did. In fact, that was the first play of the game, I believe, was him ripping off a 20-yard run. But after that, 3 yards, 4 yards, like 2 yards when it's like second and 8 or something was not good. So Cam Akers was also really big in the receiving game too. So I think he's just we got to start. We're starting to find out who's stepping up and who's not. And that defense, man, that's 2 games in a row we've had 3 turnovers on the opposing team. We can start flipping this around, flip the script. But yeah, let's get into the Seahawks. They barely escaped the Cardinals. At least it wasn't a one-score game like the Vikings games.
Yeah, it was just one of those games where it was a close game throughout. Basically, Geno Smith had a couple bad mistakes, which I feel like I keep saying this every week where he just makes some stupid mistake. Now, luckily, this was a game where I believe we kept Arizona to less than like 150 passing yards.
Uh-huh.
So our defense is definitely improving. We gave up a couple big runs, but if you take those out of it, they only got like 60 rushing yards if you take away their biggest run plays. So majority of the time we kept them in check. There was just one or two plays that they burst one down the field. Um, JSN finally got his first touchdown. Jake Bobo had another touchdown on a really good catch, I gotta say. Um, in a game that DK Metcalf was out. So finally getting JSN involved, um, hopefully getting him as a more involved in the offense and start taking some of that load away from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, where we can have a more even spread on the field. Other than that, just a close game, division rival. That just tends out to be how it happens. Um,
Yeah, I mean, look at us in Chicago. It really is. It really is. But anyway, moving on. This is Matt. Is this the first week you lost in terms of getting more wrong than you did right as
hold on.
well, or did you have that happen already sometime earlier this season?
No, I hadn't been under 500 yet this year.
Okay, yeah, this was our first week under 500. I did worse than Matt. I'm only one game ahead of Matt in total now. But both of us got a lot of these wrong. I believe I got 5 right and Matt got 7 right. Or no, wait, there's 13 games. So
I got 6 right, 7 wrong. What's your
yeah, so you got
overall
6.
record
I
now?
got I got 4. I just got 2 less than you. So
What's your record now? 63, 42?
or sorry, yeah, I got 2 more wrong. So my record's it's just gonna be one more win than yours. Mine's
Or
I'm on the
62,
other account.
44?
It's 63-43.
So you're still 2 games above.
I'm still I'm still 2 games above.
Yeah.
Did you get one wrong last week? Like
Because remember you had the Eagles game?
I did have the Eagles game, so I made that one up on you.
Yeah.
So, but you got the Falcons, or no? Yeah, you got the Falcons and you got the Broncos.
Yeah.
So, you must have been okay. Yeah, so
I
you were
was
four
six and
behind me.
seven.
I thought you were 3 behind me, so you must have been 4 behind me. Okay,
Or
I could
something
have
like
I could have
that. I don't
sworn.
know. Moving on.
Yeah, it's all good. Moving on to cap up the recap week, the Saints are exactly what many of us thought some people thought they'd be, very mid team. Um, they have some splashes here and there. They got Taysom Hill involved, which I always love to see. He's one of my favorite players in the league because when you ask him what position he plays, he says football. Dude does everything, Swiss Army knife. But Jacksonville maintaining their wins back in the States. So congrats to them for that. Other than that, close, good game, good Thursday night game to watch. Saints almost came back on them. Chicago in the battle of the injured quarterbacks completely shocked the world, I would say, by beating the Raiders as bad as they did. That was surprising, ruining part of their draft potentially.
Well, when you have Carolina's pick as well, that doesn't really do much to you.
True, but I mean, you'd love to hold 1 and 2. A lot of value to trade that second one away. Or
Well,
the
you could
first
easily
one.
have 1 and 3 and get the trade up from 2 to 1, and you get extra picks for it. So,
That's true. Yeah.
though, I think we can agree that this week, other than really the Las Vegas game, but specifically like with Chicago, I'll keep Indianapolis out of it for now. But Chicago,
Mhm.
Cleveland, who else? New York. Who else had a backup quarterback playing this week? That it?
Um, I believe so. I mean, Arizona technically because Kyler Murray's but he's been out. So
Well, we haven't seen Kyler Murray yet this year, so I'm leaving them out. Um,
right.
and as I said, I'm leaving Indianapolis out of it because I still think Anthony Richardson's the clear starter for that team. But with Chicago, Cleveland, and New York, I think you can really make an argument that the backup quarterbacks are playing, if not as good, better than the starters.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too because I would include Indianapolis. Well, not I guess not in that sentence because Minshew's been doing well, but not Anthony Richardson well. But the backups this year have been really good. And again, Chicago's backup has never played an NFL game before. Justin Fields got hurt against us last week, and so that was interesting. Just kind of seeing him go in, and then he didn't. He got the fumble. He threw a pick near the end, like rookie quarterback stuff. But then
That was just out of desperation, though.
exactly, and had a full week of practice, and he comes up and you know, I mean, granted he didn't do all the touchdowns because that was Deontay Foreman, but uh, didn't cost any mistakes. Was able to complete the passes he was asked to do, and that's really all you need. And teams seem to be able to figure out Justin Fields. Like I said last week, we had Justin Fields in jail for the quarters he did play, two or three, something like that.
Though,
He
Tyler,
he wasn't able to do much.
I'm gonna stop you real quick. So something that they were doing last year was they were allowing him to run. This year they're trying to make him a pocket passer again for no reason. I don't understand. But when Justin Fields is allowed to create plays, it's kind of like the Russell Wilson effect. I wouldn't say he's close to Russell Wilson. Maybe
I would compare him more to Lamar Jackson
eh,
if we're talking current quarterbacks, because I mean he can rip off a 60-yard run for a touchdown like it's nothing.
yeah, but I mean more
So,
on like the passing game. Like Lamar Jackson can also just sit in the pocket and bomb that thing. Um,
right. Well, I mean he's not as developed as Lamar though. So
Though I
his
mean,
running
for
style
Justin
is one
Fields
thing.
to get out of the pocket to create plays specifically,
Right.
that's what he needs to do. If they're just keeping him in the pocket, the Bears' offensive line is not good enough. And really, you only have DJ Moore on that wide receiver unit who can break away. And if you double cover him, oh, you're done.
Yeah.
So, one of those things where they need to get back to what worked for him. I don't know why they got away from it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm happy because I don't really care for the Bears either. So I'm happy about it, and love. I mean, hey, his first name's Tyler, so love to see that. I mean, and going Tyler Badgins, the Chicago quarterback.
Read the screen.
Tyson Badgett. Sorry. I thought it was Tyler for some reason. I saw Ty. I'm on a phone. For our viewers, I can only see part of the screen, so I see Ty, and I'm just like, that's my name. So, but anyway, yeah, going to New York as well to continue the backup quarterback conversation. I think we all kind of know that Tyrod Taylor, when healthy, and when the doctors decide not to puncture his lungs, he is a really good quarterback.
That's a
Um,
far out callback, but yeah, it's bad
it was
when
like what 2 years ago.
nah, more than that because Justin Herbert's been the starter for more than that.
That's right.
But you know it's bad when like it's not even just a few people, it's majority, not even Giants fans are saying, does Daniel Jones still have a job when he gets back? Because
Yeah.
at this point, I cannot say that he does
Well, I mean, what do they do with that
confidently, at
contract?
least.
Do they just eat that contract?
Yeah. Because
The
here's the thing.
Giants are gonna. The Giants are not gonna be in a good cap situation.
So it's
They're gonna.
one
They're gonna
point
be
you
living
have to
down
do
with the
something.
Panthers. They have to. Do you switch plays? Do you finally try to implement a two quarterback system because both of them can kind of move around?
Then
Do
just have
you?
Tyrod Taylor on the field.
Yeah. I
There's
mean,
nothing that Daniel Jones does that Tyrod Taylor can't do, and Daniel Jones is better at. I can't say that with good faith right now.
I'd say if they were to attempt the tush push, Daniel Jones would probably be your guy to do that just because he has such a tall frame.
Well, even against Seattle, he tried it and they failed, and they got two of their players hurt on that same play.
Well, that's also a testament to their offensive line being complete doo doo.
Also, I
And
feel bad
yeah,
for
your
any team
defensive
that
line
has to play
so
Philly this season because literally, if it's like third, second, if it's anything and it's and one or at the 1 yard line,
yep,
you're screwed.
dude. And I tried to warn you last week. You could have had a clean sweep of me last week, or this week rather. Like I picked Philly, and you were like, "You're gonna embrace the chaos." I'm just like, the lines, man, they're gonna dominate the offense and defensive line. Like Tua can't complete the passes if he can't throw, and Jalen Hurts, they're never in like 3 down territory. They've always got that 4th down up their sleeve. And
Okay,
true,
but
true,
the refs
true.
were on
Oh,
Philly's side the whole game, though, and you can't tell me they weren't.
I saw a couple calls. I didn't. I only watched half the game because I had to fly out Monday.
Philly
So
had 0 calls, Tyler.
that is a bit significant,
Miami had 10.
right? But what were the calls though?
Well, there was
That's
one that was a roughing the passer where Jalen Hurts just kind of got shoved down after he threw the ball.
hmm.
And the guy was already like almost there to shove him, and they called pass interference. Or not
They
pass
did
interference,
try
roughing
to
the passer.
call a penalty on Philly. Actually, I remember this vividly because it was so weird. They did try to call a penalty on Philly for offensive offsides because they thought the guard's hand was next to the football, but it was just Jason Kelsey's other arm. So I didn't see them take that call back, but they must have if Philly got 0 penalties. So
Apparently, from what I heard, Philly had 0 penalties.
That's interesting because I mean, when I saw that call, I was just like, that's literally Jason's other arm. Like, how are you calling this offensive offsides? But I mean, I've been telling you this. The refs have been terrible this year. You know, the Jets and the Vikings have both been on terrible sides of the refs. And just playing the Chiefs. I mean, we've had some bad luck there. The Colts were arguably screwed over of a potential win against Cleveland this week. So you got a lot of ref ball that keeps going on. Um, I mean, at some point, and I really do think it's going to take some of the fun out of the game. But if you want to truly have the team who's better win, you've got to have all the calls come from New York, where they have all the great cameras from every angle,
Yeah.
seeing the plays. Like the guys on the field, they're obviously not seeing it. And if you've noticed, all the flags in pretty much every game are coming out much later, which is just infuriating. Because if you see the problem, you throw the flag. You don't wait till the play is over and then call holding or defensive pass interference or something like that after the play is over. I've been seeing that way too much this year for all teams. Um, Makes no sense.
All I gotta say is, if I don't have to see another Kansas City game in my life, I would not be mad.
Okay, so you're not going to watch the Super Bowl. Noted.
Specifically, if Tony Romo is commentating.
Oh yeah, dude. If there's one thing he loves just as much as the Cowboys, it's the Chiefs.
No, not even the Chiefs. Patrick
It's
Mahomes.
just Patrick Mahomes. Yeah,
Cause good, I I don't know if Tony Romo's just in love with this man. I don't know if there's something going on behind the scenes.
they're not allowed to show that on TV, Matt. It's PG-13, I think, or is it everybody? I'm not sure. I
There's
don't know the
something
ratings
there.
for NFL. I just know that I was allowed to watch it whenever I wanted. So as long as I didn't have homework, which now that I'm out of school, I don't have homework anymore.
But I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is the QB Tony Romo always wanted to be. But I don't know, Tyler. It's just
I mean, like it's one thing. Like I think we can all agree, Patrick Mahomes, athletically, is probably the best quarterback we've seen in our time.
he's the most creative of all time.
He's very creative and innovative. Andy Reid also allows him to be that way,
Yeah.
but also his physical ability to make plays out of nothing, to create the big plays, buy his receivers more time to get downfield. Like he's able to do so many things, and he can even run as much as you want him to, but he doesn't like to because he can do it all with his arm. Hell, he'll even throw a ball with his left arm if he needs to.
Yeah.
Like,
Or behind the back type stuff.
yeah, the dude is crazy. No look passes. Like, I mean, granted, Matthew Stafford's been doing that since he came into the league too. He's just
Not to
older
that
now,
level though.
so he can't do it as much now. No, he was doing it, man, but it was back when the Lions were like 2-14 and stuff like that. Nobody was watching them.
But that's what I mean. Like he wasn't doing it to the level where it was creating wins. Like a lot of
No, but I
quarterbacks
mean,
have
creating a positive play. I wouldn't say Mahomes is creating wins with it. I'm saying he's creating positive plays in the game.
Tyler, how many like
So,
third and like 20s have they been in? And this is basically the game's in the balance and like some like shenanigans comes out of nowhere.
oh yeah, we had that in our game. Yeah, he threw it to the backup tight end like 40 yards down the field on a 3rd and 18 or something like that. So it's ridiculous. But I mean, like again, you talk about the greatest quarterbacks in the 2000s. You think about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, those are
Yeah.
really the two best at this point. I mean, and you have two sides of the coin. You've got the best mental QB who understands where everybody has to be, how he can do everything, how to be the best pocket passer ever. And then you've got Patrick Mahomes who can pretty much make any throw you need him to make and buy anybody as much time as you need and make something out of nothing every time. And so
There's
we'll
a
see if
specific way I
Mahomes
look at
catches
the
up to
two.
Brady in Super Bowl wins, and then we can talk about who's really the best. I guess.
There's a specific way I look at the two. Tom Brady makes the game into a chess match and will
Yep.
methodically tear you apart.
And
Patrick
then
Mahomes,
Mahomes can just snap his fingers and say you're done, and then just obliterate you.
well, no, I was going to say Mahomes is just the guy that can create any play that he needs to.
Yeah.
So it's basically apples versus oranges of who you want as a QB. Like that's what makes the greatest of all time from the QB position like difficult because it's
Mhm.
like, do you want somebody who's extremely risky and can make any play, or do you want the guy that can basically rip a defense apart and just sit in the pocket all day?
I will say though that I've made this point to you off camera many times, and I want to make it again. That maybe it'll spark some debate amongst the viewers. I will say Tom Brady for most of his career has had a great defense to back him up and a solid running game for everywhere he's been. That has not been the case for Kansas City. This year they've got a good defense. Is it because of the refs? Maybe, but the refs were also famous for New England when Tom Brady was there. So we have some similarities we're seeing there. But Patrick Mahomes has had to win shootout after shootout in his career because his defense can't keep the leads he gives them. And uh, their running game before they got Pacheco. I mean, his first season they had Bell, right? And he was good. Um, did they have Hunt for like a season or two? I want to say.
I think they started with Hunt, but
Yeah,
then he had the issues off the field and he got cut. Then he went to Cleveland.
right. Because Damian Williams was there too, I think, and he was okay in the Chiefs. Like I don't think he was a star by any means. But so I mean, when you think of the good running game for the Chiefs, you think of Hunt's year or two with Patrick Mahomes, maybe before that too. But like then it doesn't get better until Pacheco, and really Pacheco still fights with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and had to fight even more last year. So
So
I
we'll
mean,
also say that the Patriots haven't really had like that great core, that great running back like a Nick Chubb or anybody like that. Like they've had good running
yeah, I mean
backs, but
they haven't had a star. I
they
would
haven't had
say,
an
but
elite running back.
they've had a solid guy who doesn't put the ball on the ground, and they've
And
got the
that's
O
just how
line to
the
go behind
roster's
it too.
built, though.
Right,
And it's
right.
also Tom Brady with his most of his career, he was taking those pay cuts.
Yeah, and then that's a thing that separates him as well. That's one thing I will always commend Tom Brady for is that he took pay cuts to make the team better, and I believe every quarterback should do that if they believe they can make it there.
I'm, but you'll never see me basically being mad at somebody unless it's like Dak Prescott because Dak Prescott sucks. That's a whole nother argument. But um, I'll never be mad at somebody for getting that money, especially with how dangerous the NFL is, because you never know when it's your last down.
That's true. You never do.
Now, with Tom Brady, he was always a quick passer. You knew that until like that final year or two in New England, he was never in danger of really being replaced. So he
Yeah,
was set. But I won't get mad at any other quarterback, running back, wide receiver, defensive player, offensive lineman, kicker, whatever, getting their money. One, as long as they perform on the field, and two, as long as they keep off the field stuff just to a minimum.
exactly. I totally agree. Anyway, to not waste too much more time, I would say, in my opinion, the game of the week, Cleveland at the Colts. If you haven't watched the highlights of that game, I would highly recommend it. It's got offense, it's got defense, it's got special teams, it's got pretty much everything you'd want in an NFL game, and it's got a nail biter of an ending. So I would go watch that game if you haven't seen it. Buffalo at New England, one of the biggest surprises, not only because New England won, but because they have an offense now.
For
That was the
now.
that game. Like until this game, I would argue that I forgot New England had an offense. or a capable one anyway.
Who's their quarterback?
Mac Jones.
No, it was a joke, but
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, you could have asked me that before. I would have been like, I don't know, some guy.
no, I'm gonna hold you up for a minute, Tyler. You're saying Green Bay Denver wasn't the game of the week?
I mean, we are fans of Tom Grossi, so
And
that
Brandon
it was
Perna.
great to see, and Brandon Perner. Yeah, we're a fan of whole clickbait crew. We love all them. But so we loved watching the reaction. But I watched the highlights of the game,
It
and
sucked.
I watched their stream. I got a lot more enjoyment out of the stream from seeing Perna and Grossi's reactions than I did from the game.
Yeah.
Jordan Love looks bad, and I could not be happier. I told you my hope going into the Jordan Love era is that he's just not Hall of Fame quarterback. He can be anything below that as long as it's not Hall of Fame caliber. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing so far.
Though I do have to say, oh, it took me until we started this recording and looking back at this overall week. It was a really good week for my Seahawks, other than the game not being that great, but everybody in the division lost.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, technically, it's a good week for us too because we beat the Bears, so we have the tiebreaker and a better record. And the Lions and the Packers lost too. So I actually like the Lions, so I don't mind if they take the division. So, but I'm just worried that if we start competing with them for a record, if they start dropping games and we start winning them, then I got to start competing with them. But I think I like the Lions in the spotlight. I really do. Um,
Also, the Rams losing to the Steelers was also a surprise in the week.
yeah, I mean, both. I believe we I said something about that game in the predictions last week where I was saying I wouldn't be totally shocked if the Steelers won it because obviously, you know, TJ Watt exists and makes his presence known in every game he's in. And, their defense is good, but I think they also put up some offense in that game.
I just I'm gonna be real for a second, just big picture. I don't know who any of these teams are.
Seriously. I mean,
Like,
what's weird is if I honestly believe the best division in football right now is the AFC North. They all have winning records. They're all like great teams, like roster wise. Like it's super competitive in the best way in the sense that everybody's winning. Like sure the Bengals got off to a slow start and I believe they're just what 500 now,
yeah,
but like they're going to catch up. Like they'll pick up some wins. Joe Burrow in that offense. Absolutely.
because
I mean, you look around the league. Philadelphia dominates the East. Unless the Cowboys somehow find a way to come back. Kansas City dominates the West. There's no chance anybody else comes back against them unless Mahomes and Kelsey get hurt. The NFC North is trash except for the Lions, and we might have cracked average after the Niners win. I'll give myself that, but I'm not going to say good. We might have cracked average.
until
Then
you
you look.
lose to Green Bay this Sunday, just because why not?
I mean, it's in Lambeau. It would not surprise me. It's a division game, so
And also
uh,
just because this season's like, oh, you did good this week.
next week you're gonna lose by 50.
Yes, like I would not be surprised if y'all get blown out just because script writers must be on some drugs or they're just playing Wheel of Fortune with this mess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or they just have like that like the bingo like wheel where you roll it until numbers come out.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's more like darts. But I think it's across the entire hallway darts. Like they just find the longest hallway they can, get a dartboard on the other door, and they just throw it down a like 100-yard hallway. Or probably not that long, but you know what I mean. And then wherever it lands is something that happens. Man,
It's just I
but this is the best part about the NFL. Anybody can win any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday,
nah, but
and
this is worse than usual. Because
it is. But I
if
like
I'm
the
gonna be
I like the
real,
unpredictability, but I also don't. It's a mixed feeling for me.
if I'm gonna be real, like a lot of these games this week weren't even that good. It has been a
Oh,
consistent theme where yes, games have been close, but the quality of football itself has not been there. And like, what was I gonna say? Um, it tells when our record has consistently gone down basically each week. So now we're below 500 for last week. And we can only put in the title of these videos so much that we suck at this.
sorry for the brief pause in the connection there. Uh, for those of you who don't know, I am currently in Texas, and I believe the Cowboys heard something about Matt's comment about Dak. I was specifically told that those comments are not allowed while we're here, regardless of whether it's me saying them or not. So, Matt, for the future of this podcast, I'm going to need you to not badmouth Dak anymore while I'm in Texas.
No anti-cowboy propaganda down there.
No, no, there's not. So, but anyway, I was going to say before, well, I was saying before I got cut off, dropped out of the whole thing, was if I had to rank the three games this week of like what the best games were, I already said Cleveland at Indianapolis is the best. I'd hold my bias, and say I would say the San Francisco and at the Vikings was the second best. So props to the NFL for having a good primetime game
For
on
once.
Monday night. I know that's been a struggle. Um, it's this season and last season was a struggle with all the Broncos games, but so they got a win there, and I would say number three would be Buffalo at New England, which it hurts to even say New England in a sentence with best in it. So, uh, just going off of that, I mean, those three games are the only ones I would say are worth watching, unless you're a fan of one of the other teams. So, uh, I mean, I would watch that. Um, those were closer games and they were good. They had a lot of suspense in them, so I like those games. And but really, a lot like we said, a lot of these games were just it was either a blowout by one team or there was just poor football on display, like Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Like I know we called that one differently, but after we started watching that game, I'm sure both of us were thinking either one of us could win this one.
Yeah. Especially with all the mistakes from Desmond Ritter. They have
Exactly.
not found their quarterback yet.
I don't think so. I think Arthur Smith still has faith in him, but um,
He
we'll
looked
see what
fed up in
happens.
that game, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to figure out who his top targets are, and he's got to start giving them ratios. I think that's got to be what he's got to start doing.
Now, it didn't help that, was it Bijan was sick that day, and
Right.
now we have the whole NFL looking at the Falcons about why they didn't say anything. Who knows with that? But he wasn't feeling well. We actually had some Kyle Pitts sightings during the game, which
He's been good the past 2 weeks.
he's starting to get back up there. Or I can't even say get back up there because he's never been up there for targets. So
Yeah, I mean,
finally,
kudos to them for finally
hopefully,
finding a way to use him.
hopefully we're finally getting to a point where it's not Kyle Pitts sightings. It's just Kyle Pitts is playing well.
Exactly, because coming out of the draft, we were thinking that was going to be a dangerous weapon, and then it's been silence.
Like we
So
thought maybe next Travis Kelsey, maybe next Gronk. I might be over exaggerating with those.
In a different sense because he's more of a speed tall guy.
Yeah.
He was a tight end. Randy Moss was the kind of equivalent I drew.
Still,
Uh,
basically, what I'm trying to get out there is a dominant tight end.
yeah,
But I like I said earlier, I just nobody in the NFL right now gives me any confidence.
I agree. No, Philadelphia does. Philadelphia gives me confidence. Um, let's see. Looking through the rest of the teams, any teams. Okay, for as much as what's happened to the Jets, I actually do have confidence in them. Like if Aaron Rodgers comes back, I will have the utmost confidence. If
Well, they
Zach
didn't
Wilson
play this
continues
week.
trends upward, maybe. But like I know they didn't play this week, but the quality of opponents they faced with Zach Wilson being the starter after Aaron Rodgers going down week one, who had been practicing with the ones all off season, you got to give him credit, man.
They lost to the Patriots, Tyler.
They did, but so did Buffalo,
Well, we don't think
and the
Buffalo is
Jets
that
beat
good either.
and the Jets beat Buffalo. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean I wouldn't say confidence. I would say they have a future for sure.
But can
You know,
they actually
especially
get a good QB that one stays healthy? I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers isn't a good QB, but one just stays healthy because I don't see Zach Wilson as being their future.
yeah. I
He
don't either.
makes way too many mistakes.
I would say maybe Cincinnati as long as Joe Burrow stays healthy. I mean, that's a team I feel confident about. I mean, you look at the trend of when he's had his, soreness and everything, and he's only trend upwards since he's felt better. So, but other than that, I mean, it's really just Philadelphia that you can look at him and say, okay, that's a team to beat. That's
But
a
then they lost the Jets last week.
yeah, and that's part of things like the quality of the opponents the Jets have beaten is insane. But I also told you at the beginning of the season, I mean, just in our game, you could see that Philadelphia had not found their new identity yet. They lost both their coordinators, as most Super Bowl teams do, and um, they hadn't found their whole rhythm yet. And so I think they found it honestly this week. Like they had to face a great caliber defense in the Jets beforehand, and they didn't look good against the Patriots or us or wherever else they played.
Anybody.
They didn't look that great, but against Miami, they put on a clinic and they went for every 4th and 1, even on their own 20 or 25. I think it was like because they can, and yeah, they do it well. I'm personally on team keep the brotherly shove. Like you can't ban that play just because one team has figured out how to master it. And if you think there's an injury risk, then that's Philadelphia's risk or gamble to take. I mean, if they're willing to run the play and Jalen Hurts is willing to put himself in that pile of dudes, then that's his call. And so far, it's working for him. I believe I saw the statistic is about 88% of the time. Could be even more, maybe. So, I mean, if it works that well, why stop? But yeah, this week was a lot of terrible football. Great backup quarterback play, but a lot of terrible football and some
Except
upsets.
for Vegas.
Yeah, yeah. Vegas did not have good backup quarterback play, which is ironic because he hasn't looked bad when he's had to come in for Jimmy G. So
Well, knowing that they ran with two backup quarterbacks, so
that's true. But anyway, overall, happy that both of our teams won. Happy that we finally have a quality opponent we can look to and say, hey, we beat this team. We didn't just beat the winless Panthers and the Bears. We beat San Francisco too. So good to have that on like the resume, so to speak. And Seattle escapes one of their two potential upsets with the Cardinals. So that's gotta be a sigh of relief for now. Um, and Detroit is beatable, which is again, I said that last week. Detroit's the team to beat. So since I said Philadelphia is the team to beat, they'll probably lose next week. But we'll see what happens, I guess. Until then, if you're liking the podcast, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you think. If you have any ideas on how we can make this reaction videos better, or if we can do anything to make you enjoy watching this better, listening to it, whatever it is, besides fixing the technical difficulties, because that just seems something we can't avoid. Let us know, and we'll have a predictions video out for y'all soon.
Peace.